and welcome to another benefit of the Doud Review. I am your host, Adam Doud, and joining me is co-host Cliff. Cliff, how are you doing today?
I think I'm doing better than you because
Yeah, I was right on
unfortunately
the hair there.
Adam's got a little bit of the sniffles today, but that's okay. You know, we'll
Yeah,
power through it. I've
we
been
are.
there
We are.
a few times myself, my friend, where I have
Yeah,
sounded less than my dulcet tone self.
indeed, indeedy do. And today we are tackling yet another review. And actually, this is going to be the Cliff show, both because I can't talk and because you're the one doing this review. So that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll it up into a ball and toss it on over to you.
Oh, smells like lavender.
Well, I'm glad you got it before you did then, because about 5 more minutes it would have smelled like not lavender. Anyway, so why don't you tell us what
I,
we're taking a look
I don't know
at
what
here?
I don't know what any of that meant, but what we're here to
Hmm,
review today is a phone from a new manufacturer to our channel.
I see what you did there.
I'm just
That
gonna
was
let
dead
it
air.
let it let
So you
it
know.
let it drag out. So
Yeah.
this is a phone from NUU. New. They are a manufacturer that offers unlocked devices here in the United States and I assume elsewhere. Phones that
Mhm.
are oriented towards the lower end of the spectrum. So you know, for people that are on a more of like a fixed budget and are still
Sure.
looking to get you know, especially with their devices, I think that sort of the ethos of it is to offer a lot for your money when you're competing with someone like TCL or especially
Right.
Motorola. I think that's like the
Right.
elephant in the room when it
Right.
comes to phones in this price range. But specifically, the phone we're going to talk about today was sent to us by NUU, and that is the A25. Now, can we just get this out of the way that was probably not the best way to name their phone
Naming
if they were
scheme.
trying to, yeah, if they're trying to differentiate themselves because an actual monolith of the smartphone industry.
Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, there's another manufacturer that
Yeah.
uses the same branding for one of its phones that competes in a similar
So,
space. So
exactly. I don't
yeah,
know who that could
probably
be, but
right. Yeah, yeah,
just putting
probably.
that out there. That was when I got this phone in for review. The first thing I thought was, really? Okay.
I mean, okay.
All right. So
Yeah.
this is a phone that costs around $200, and you get quite a lot of phone for your money in terms of you know, checking off the specs. For around that price, I think it's actually priced like if you purchase it directly from the manufacturer, or see if we can get this in a way that is. Does that work?
Yeah, it works.
It's not
Yeah.
normal, but it'll work. So
No,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's all good.
scroll down just here a little bit. But yeah, so this is the A25 from NUU, as I said. And for that, you get a 6.7-inch AMOLED. That's FHD plus. So basically 1080p plus whatever the extra pixels are from just the
The
aspect
height.
ratio. And as you see there from my screen share, it's got a 120 hertz refresh rate. Now, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to say, first of all, that the fact that you can get a phone with a 120 hertz refresh rate and AMOLED at FHD plus for less than $200 is
It's a little sick,
that's
isn't it?
it's crazy. 2 years ago, that would have been a $400 phone easily.
I'd even go
I
higher, but
think.
yeah, it would have been a lot more
Right.
expensive. Yeah,
I'm saying in terms of like for a budget phone, to get to that, you would have had to, I think, at least have had to pay like $400 to $500.
sure.
And it's finally, just like a lot of things, it's AMOLEDs have become a lot more common now in phones, and phones with a higher refresh rate have become more common, and so it's now into the $200 price range. It's got an
Mm-hmm.
Helio G99 from MediaTek, which means number one, you're not going to get 5G with this. I don't actually think that's that big of a deal. I used to think, oh no, it's not a 5G phone. What you're missing out. But honestly, I mean, while the speeds here just to let you know, I'm using T-Mobile's network as always. And I mean, while the speeds were less, it's still very usable for a smartphone and for just streaming video and listening to streaming things. So it's
Oh
fine.
yeah, I mean, T-Mobile connectivity around your house is super solid.
It really is. It's kind of amazing. But 128 gigabytes of storage. It does have expandable storage up to 1 terabyte through micro SD, which is also really nice. Although I haven't done that in a long time. I'm just going to say honestly, because as you can see, even in this price category, I mean, you're getting 128 gigabytes of storage. For most people, that's usually pretty good, unless you're just downloading and installing a bunch of games.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can get by with 128, and I've got like 200 some apps that I install on my phones. Including like Call of Duty, Genshin Impact, stuff like that. So I mean, like, I can get by with 128, but it's starting to get a little tight. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but I remember it wasn't too long ago to where 64 gigabytes and 32 gigabytes were the standard around this price. So,
insane.
Really is not too bad. So 6 gigabytes of RAM. Now, one thing it doesn't have that I was kind of surprised, given that this is a Chinese phone manufacturer, is that it doesn't have the feature where you can add the extra RAM via the onboard storage.
Oh, like the virtual RAM?
Like the virtual RAM, exactly. I'm fine with that. I know that that's not supposed to be very good for your for the SSD that's installed, so that's fine. And 6 gigabytes of RAM is I think for a budget phone more than enough.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, we're getting from 2 years ago that the standard was 4 and 6 was definitely an upgrade. So the Helio G99, just so you know, the system on a chip that's installed on this, I think is comparable to like a Snapdragon 695 or something. Maybe 695 may actually be a 5G chipset, but it's still performance-wise when you benchmark it. If you look, that Helio G99 is in so many budget phones right now. So I think it's a 6 nanometer chipset. So not the latest manufacturing process, but it's not like the 13 nanometer again of a few years ago. So. Again, the tech in this is not bad. Front-facing camera is an 8 megapixel. The rear camera, and I'm just going to call it the rear camera because it does have 2 additional cameras, but a 15 megapixel main camera on the back, and then 2 sticker cams. One is a depth sensor, and then one, I believe, is the wide.
Well, for those of you who are not really paying close attention to the screen, though, can we just specifically read out what those other 2 cameras are? Because, my God,
I know it's low even by sticker cam standards.
2 megapixels.
2 megapixels plus, for the ultra wide, and VGA.
I am not kidding. It actually says
0.3 megapixel. I had to look that up. 0.3 megapixel. But that's not something that you access. That's the depth sensor. They just call it a camera. Yeah. But still.
You don't advertise that. Come on.
Right. So 5,000 milliamp hour.
I'm just going to say, if you put VGA on your spec list, you've probably already lost a battle. Maybe not the war, but you've lost the battle.
Lowered expectation.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, but it's got a big battery, 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which again, it's kind of become sort of the run of the mill standard for most budget phones. It's sort of just like the line in the sand that most of them cross over to, and then they don't really go much above that. But that's an ample battery. I don't have any problems with that. Did mention it's a 4G phone. It is dual SIM as well as having the expandable storage, and it is running Android 13 out of the box. Now, something I did want to mention that kind of troubles me when we talk about the software before I actually transition over to Slappy and we take a look at the phone itself is that not only is this running Android 13, which is fine, I guess, except that Android 14 has been out for almost 2 years now, but also, if I remember right, this was on what was I'm gonna have to check this. It was on a crazy old security update, and I had it in my head before, but I've since forgotten it. So let's see.
It could be like
Okay,
March
yeah,
2021 or
the August 5th, 2023 update.
Wow. That's
Keep
that's a
in
lot of
mind,
security updates since then.
yeah, and the fact that this phone launched in December of 2023.
Of
So
2023.
it was 6 months behind, almost four months behind when it launched, and I have not received any updates to this phone software wise since I started using it. So,
Right.
you know, I understand that NUU is a small company and that they're offering a budget device, but I also knock Motorola phones for the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Motorola, I do think is slightly better, probably not much, with like the Moto G series than what NUU is offering here. But
Right.
you know, this is not that old of a phone, and the fact that, I mean, it says it's, I think the line is it's Android 14 upgrade capable. But they're not promising a date or even like a quarter of when this will receive Android 14, if at all. And then just to not even be up to like January 2024 with security updates is a little concerning if you're considering buying this phone. And I hate that because
14, I was gonna say Android
Yeah.
14 compatible, some assembly required.
right. So factor that into your buying decision. Those may not be things that are important to you. If you're always on Wi-Fi and you're behind a firewall, and maybe those things aren't. And when it comes to apps, I mean, this does have Google Play security because it does have GMS, Google Play. So in that, and if you, as long as you're not like side loading stuff a whole bunch, probably not that big a deal. But again, $200 is still, someone's spending $200 on this phone. So I'm not going to harp on it anymore. But to me, you got a lot of options at this price point, and it's like one of a few things to me that's like the real like ew kind of holds your nose point with this phone, because just looking at the specs, the things we've already talked about, it has a lot to offer, a lot of good stuff. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Slappy. Hopefully we can.
Hello, Slappy.
I want you to go up there. You to go up there. There.
There we go.
There we go. That looks right. Okay.
Now we're playing with power.
Something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate over here a little bit. And so I have, just to show you the box first, we're not obviously going to do a complete unboxing since I've been using the phone for actually like a month and a half. But I'm going to go ahead and set the phone to the side so we can see what comes in the box. And like a lot of manufacturers that aren't major manufacturers, Chinese phone companies, we'll just call it that. It has a lot that comes in the box. So you get a USB-C to USB-C cable in the box, an 18-watt charger. What a concept. I'm trying to get it in focus here. A charger in the box. We'll set that over there. You can see your little SIM pin, and then if we pop it open, stickers! Yay!
Stickers!
A delicious silicon pack. Don't eat that.
Yeah.
Don't can't be held responsible if you eat that.
I like those with chili flakes.
Yes, delicious. Yeah. I actually need to try chili flakes. I've heard good things, especially from David Chow. So anyway,
not in
little manual.
Not in the silicone pack, though.
Not in the silicone pack. And then a case. Just
Which
a
is
TPU case.
Thoroughly ignored by Cliff because he hates
it. Because it's a $200 phone. And it's plastic on the back, as you'll see. So we're just going to go ahead and set all this to the side, but that's in the box. Nice. I do appreciate the fact that it comes with a case in the box and a charger, and that the charger is USB-C to USB-C, which means I can use it with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. Now we're going to power it on. Going to use my little fingerprinty. And here is the first problem that I have with this phone. But before I do that, let's flip it around so you can see the back. Now, this phone comes in two different color options. One is a black, which is just about every phone comes in as an option. And
Right.
then this, I forget what they refer to it as. It's some sort of gold, but to me, it's almost like a French vanilla or like a
Champagne gold.
champagne gold. It's not that gold. Like, I mean, this is actually pretty accurate as far as what I'm seeing on my monitor over here when looking
It's
at
not
this.
gold, people.
It's gold if your eyes need adjustment.
Okay,
But I like
fair
this
enough.
color. It is very design wise. It reminds me a lot of like an iPhone from 2 generations ago, even in that it's got the radiused corners and
Mhm.
slab sides on this side, meaning the right side, it's got power on the bottom, which is also actually, no, it's not a fingerprint reader. We'll talk about that in a second. And a volume
Okay.
button. And then on this side, just the SIM card tray.
Okay.
Go up and down there. And then see if I can get it there. You've got hey, look at that. A headphone
A
jack.
headphone jack,
Yeah,
as nature
and
intended.
USB-C and a
Mhm.
single speaker. And then
Okay.
on the top, just a microphone hole. So that's fine. I mean, pretty standard stuff as far as the buttons. I mean, you're not getting like a programmable extra button like TCL has done in the past. I know I keep referring to TCL, but it's one of those companies that we've reviewed a lot of phones for, and so it's kind of in my wheelhouse of things to refer to when it comes to
Sure. I mean,
budget price
and they
phones.
play TCL plays in that space, so
Right, exactly. So
it's legit. You know.
as you can see, if I tap here, it has, and this is one of the things we've already mentioned, but just to show you, it does have, for less than $200, a fingerprint reader built into the
In the
screen.
screen.
That's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah.
Here's my problem with this phone, though.
Okay.
Now, it actually has, and I actually talked to Adam about this before we actually started reviewing this phone, but the screen brightness, it just defaults to like this. Like, how am I supposed to? And it's like this all the time. Doesn't matter what light I'm in, if I'm outside, inside, it's always, and I've got it set
Right.
on automatic brightness. It's always
I was gonna
like
say,
this.
you can see the button as actually pressed. So
Yes.
yeah.
And I'll bump it up. I mean, that's not even halfway. Now, much more usable. Much more.
Much better.
Yeah. So the display itself is really it's a pretty decent display. I don't have any problems with it. It's bright enough. The blacks are, as you can see, I mean, like you'd expect from an AMOLED. But
Right.
why does it default to this? And I was actually looking at reviews of a phone that they've introduced like 3 months hence, which is around $270, $280, and it's dinged for the same thing. So it's not like it's not a choice. It's something that they've chosen to do with their software tuning. Either that
I
or
mean, it could just be a bad ambient light sensor. Like they just
but in two
chose
different
a bad
phones,
one.
2 different models.
Well, if they use if they source the same sensor for both, I don't know. I mean,
I definitely think it's in the software.
it's probably
tuning.
a software
I really do.
thing. Yeah.
Or it's something that could be corrected in software. And here's the thing: there's not a lot to this software in terms of which is actually a good thing to me. It's running stock Android 13 with like one little adjustment with the Google feed, if that's something that you're interested in.
That adjustment being crappy out of brightness, but
well, that's not an adjustment. I almost wonder if they were just like, here, let's install stock Android on this, just ship it. No, it's not quite that bad.
Ship it.
See what happens. But if you go to settings, I mean, everything that you see here looks like almost like a Pixel phone, in terms of other than just a few things in the settings, but specifically like going into the anyway, I don't want to show my IMEI there, but okay, this is the one thing that they have added, which is kind of similar to what a lot of other Chinese manufacturers have done, and that's a feature which they call DuraSpeed, which I think is really funny. DuraSpeed sounds like an off-brand tire.
It kind of does, or an off-brand battery, one of the two.
Right, what DuraSpeed, and it's got. What's funny about it is, I don't know, I'm trying to bring it in so that you can see the icon for it is a little rocket. which is kind
Oh,
of
I thought that was
funny.
a microphone, but that's hilarious.
Nope,
Okay.
that's what I thought it was first. But I'm just going to read you what it says here, although you can also see it on the screen. DuraSpeed helps boost the foreground app by restricting background apps. Some notifications may be postponed or not received.
Mm.
DuraSpeed does not restrict background activities of apps switched on in the list. And
Oh,
so
okay.
they don't tell you about that at all when you're on board onto the phone. You just go to the settings, and there are a few that are just automatically turned, or actually everything is turned off as far as saying don't do that. So I have a few
Oh,
that I want running in the foreground all the time, like Threads, Messenger, Instagram, and then at the time I
oh,
was using a
sure. Yeah.
smartwatch with it. But I mean, it's a way to it's really not that different from what a lot of like I said, Chinese phone manufacturers do, where it's just aggressive task management or
Right.
background task management. They just kind of
Seems
put it
like
as a
a
setting
bad
here.
idea.
It is a very bad
Like,
idea.
yeah, yeah, okay.
I'm like, you went to all the trouble to do this, but you couldn't work on the
Auto
auto
brightness.
dimming, the auto brightness. Yeah, I also
Right.
wonder. Here's the thing: I don't know that this is the case with this particular phone, but a lot of these kind of phones from like Blue, and I'm assuming from New, are from like white label manufacturers like WingTech. For example, the
Mm-hmm.
tablet and
Mm-hmm.
the smartphone that we reviewed from T-Mobile in the
Mm-hmm.
last like 6 months to a year were also WingTech devices. I would not be
Mm.
surprised if it's not a WingTech phone. It's got to be something like that,
Mm-hmm.
because for one thing, to get the scale that you need to get a phone with these kind of specs
Down to
down to a
less than
certain
$200.
price, this
Yeah.
this is probably in China, probably a few different devices. The other thing is, I'm guessing, but because of that, rather than what T-Mobile has done, which is actually do a little bit of custom software work, this is probably the software that they're getting straight from the white label manufacturer. That's just again
That
me
could be.
postulating. I don't know I don't know that for a fact. Obviously, we'd have to
Right.
talk to
Right.
New probably would never address something like that anyway. But just based on what I'm seeing here, I wouldn't be surprised if you find DuraSpeed called something else, but it works the same from another
With the same
manufacturer in
icon.
China. Exactly. Exactly. Because other than that, I mean, it's
Yeah.
literally just stock Android, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, one thing I didn't do, and I meant to
What's
do
that?
it, was to download some pictures to show, because I
Oh, to show
to,
off
to show off. Now I can do that
for the camera.
if you want to riff for a few minutes. I can just open up Google Photos and go to town here.
Yeah, I could do that, I think. So, I mean, all that, yeah, the DuraSpeed, and Cliff and I were having this a little bit of a disagreement off air about the auto brightness specifically, and I just told him straight up, if I were doing a review on this, I would just turn off auto brightness and probably set the
Oh,
brightness itself to like 50% and let it ride, and
right.
Cliff disagreed and said, well, you should use it as the person who bought it would use it,
As
and
intended. That's that.
try
But
yeah
that's
try to
those are just
just
conflicting philosophies in the way
yeah.
I didn't mean to. Hold on a second. We need to. I just killed us both on
Oh,
screen.
hi. Yes, you did.
Dang it.
So no, like, and that's definitely something that you can live with, but is you're going to get
There we go.
significantly worse battery life when it
Right.
comes to the phone, because it's always going to be at 75%, whether it needs to be or not. And so, if that is something that, if you're considering buying this phone, that is a solution, but you should also be aware that that's going to come with a battery trade-off, almost
Right.
certainly, because of any component of a smartphone, it's usually the screen that's going to take up most of your battery. So
Exactly. And that
and
I should mention while we're talking about that, actually, why can I not? I guess this will work. This is fine. While we're talking about, I didn't mention what the battery life was. Now, before I start showing you some images, I do have one image up here from Google Photos that I'm going to share with you. So that, like I mentioned, this does have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery and extremely aggressive, or just no management of the screen brightness. Is just always on low. But even with that, This may just
Right.
have to do with the fact that it's the Helio G99, but I mean, this will get you through a day, and that's
One
about
day?
it. Yeah,
Okay.
one day. I am
That's
recharging this with
not
about.
amazing.
I mean, I do have about 20% generally if I get up, around 8 a.m. and I'm going to bed around 9.
Right.
So, and that's with me not playing. I'm not much of a mobile gamer. It's not something that I mean, again, that's everybody does their own thing. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
guessing if you play any more challenging titles on this phone, that you're probably going to have to recharge it before the end of the day.
Before you get to
And
okay. Yeah, I
it
mean
doesn't
that's
have wireless charging, although I wouldn't expect that for
yeah,
the
for
price
this
of this
price
phone.
range,
So
you can live with that. But that's
I think
all just
I'll
I think we're kind of at a point where, I mean, especially with flagships, maybe not in the budget segment, because honestly, it's been a long time since I've reviewed anything in the budget segment. But like,
yeah.
I think we're at a point right now where if you're not getting a day and a half, there's something wrong.
I
If you
think
forget
as
to plug in your phone overnight, you should be able to at least get to lunch the next day.
I agree. I think part of it is that it or what you'll see is that the 4 nanometer and below, in terms of
Is a lot
the
more
micron
efficient in that
process,
regard.
is
Yeah.
correct. And as that technology trickles down to to like the 6 series from which
Hmm.
I think it has now with like the 6 series third generation, from and maybe the I don't even know if there is a four series anymore. But anyway, the newer processors from Qualcomm, and then I'm sure as well from
MediaTek.
MediaTek. I'm not so
Yeah.
sure about Unisoc because they're more on like the really low end of like $100 and less into the spectrum with, and you just you just get what you
Right.
can, you get what you get there. But so
Right.
we
Get
mocked,
what you get, and you like it.
and you like it.
Yeah.
So this camera, honestly, in good light, is not terrible until you zoom in. This is so what I did is
Okay.
for this particular series, I just had it on auto on the main camera and then zoomed
Mhm.
in. So you had like
Yeah.
to your different levels, basically halfway in and then a full crop. So that is all the way,
Mm-hmm.
and you can start to see. Sometimes I don't think this translates well to when we're doing videos, but you can start to see a
Right.
little bit of the processing. It gets a little glumpy on the
Mm-hmm.
details on the basketball hoop rope and then on the edges of things. Still not
Yeah.
that bad though. And then when you get into
Yeah. Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
that's where you really see the processing, it just looks like JPEG artifacts and all the detail is
Right.
lost. But again, that's 100% on 100% zoom, which is digital zoom,
Right.
on a on a $200 and less phone. So I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
not that bad. I think with most of these phones, with the conclusion that I come to is good photos in, usable photos in good light, and sometimes the video really suffers regardless of the light,
Right.
which you'll see. I do find it's very saturated. Here was a strange problem. So I remember taking these photos. What I was trying to use the portrait mode to actually get it to focus on this first swing, so that everything would be like a
Yeah.
grading, like a gradiated blur as it went down the line here, and get that line.
Mm-hmm.
And it just none of the photos have. Basically, it seems like, because you can see when it recognizes a human face, it'll come up with a square where it
Yeah.
knows how to focus
Yeah.
on it. But if it's not something that's a shape that it recognizes, it just won't do. You can't force the portrait mode, which is really
Okay.
annoying.
Yeah.
Really annoying.
Yeah. Can
But
be.
I think that's what the AI cam that it has on the back, that's what that is. And I'm just gonna. This is more of the same.
Mhm.
Macro? Not. Oh, this is video. I had my daughter spin the wheel here, and it's kind of loading.
The
So
wheel
maybe
for
you're not going
what?
to get a. Let me see. This is on a playground, so this is
Oh.
just like a little spinny thing that they can play with. Let's see.
Oh. Okay.
That
I see. I
okay.
got you.
This is it. This was the macro shot. I actually thought that was pretty good
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
texturing and details. A very
Mm-hmm.
usable, like good social media kind of quality shot. There's macro again. Let's see.
Ah.
I looked so.
Hi, Cliff.
I looked so. Okay, so if I remember right, this is me walking with the front-facing camera on video.
Facing you.
All right,
Yeah.
so here's
Okay.
the
Right.
rear
Oh
facing
my
camera.
goodness.
Rear
Yeah.
Wow.
Again,
while walking.
incredibly bad.
Short video.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't need to
That's
see anymore. You've seen enough.
Yeah. No, sure don't.
All right, so
That'll do.
selfie
Actually, I
camera.
take that back. This is the rear camera.
All right, so here's the rear.
Oh,
This
that's
is
the
the
rear
rear camera. This is the front-facing
All right, so
camera, which
selfie
I actually thought was a little better
camera
in terms of the
on video
anti-shake.
while I'm walking.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, I'm remembering these as I take them. Now that's a portrait taken with the front-facing camera. Not bad.
Okay. Yeah.
There's some more pictures with my daughter. I was just trying to make the focus struggle a little bit with the sunshine.
Mhm.
It did a decent job. Let's see. That's zoomed in all the way. This is another one of those where I'm going. I think if I go
Yeah. Don't zoom
like
in
from
all the way.
here to there, just don't do it. Because you just have a lot of artifacts. The other thing is if you look at the greens, it just and you can see it in the grass as well once we get there. But some of these I would not have used. Oh,
That's fine.
also, as you can see, because I'm actually going back in time in terms of when I was taking these, but it had the
Is there a watermark
something TCL's does. It has that watermark turned on by default,
by default?
which I didn't realize it was
think-
taking until I'm adding on until halfway through my shots. So I think this is a video.
So, like,
this is
some
me.
manufacturers, you can actually turn that off retroactively. So, like, I think if you go into the properties of each individual photo, you can turn
If
off
I wasn't
the
using
watermark.
Google Photos, I'm sure I could take it out. Yeah.
Right. Just as an FYI to the audience, though.
But again,
but
you can see the shake here.
yeah.
was
I actually know
on
a
this.
few reviewers that leave that watermark on because it'll often give the settings that the picture was
it
taken
does.
with as well. So, I mean, that's actually kind of
You-
handy
you have-
information.
You have options. I think this one just offers a timestamp. So here's a slow motion take image. I didn't think this was too bad.
Yeah. That's all right. Daddy,
Action photos are a mixed bag. The reason I say that is this is basically the same spot, and oh my god, they take a long time to process. Like you definitely do not know what shot you're going to get. You almost just have to sit there and press the shutter button over and over again and hope you get something. And
kind of a spray and pray kind of situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And most of these are not in focus the way I like them to be.
Yeah.
That one's not too bad
Well,
if you're talking about being in focus.
Yeah. I think
But,
we've got a pretty good
Aha!
overview here.
Here's one more. This was like this was the macro on a telephone pole with a spider that had like, I think, I'm not sure what it was. And you can hear my daughter's bus arriving.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of interesting. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
let's give an overview. How do we feel about
I think
this?
we covered just about everything we can cover with this phone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a budget phone. It offers a lot of features for the money. A relatively high resolution screen, 120 hertz, refresh rate for the display. If you actually boost the brightness, the screen is actually, I think, a very sort of serviceable display for the money. I think, as you'd expect, the cameras aren't great. Usable for social media in good light. I didn't even show you any of the stuff that I tried with low light because it was everything that you saw that was bad about the motion in video. With good light,
Yeah.
it was just kind of sad. But again, less than $200 phone. I'm going to say this. The other thing I guess I should say is the caveat here that, as I've mentioned, you're not getting. I have no idea when this will get security updates, let alone like Android 14, or if it'll ever even get either 14 or 15. That remains to be seen. But purely just on the specs that you get with it, the fact that it feels honestly like it's a very nicely made phone. No creaks in the body. It's relatively thin. Yes, it's plastic on the back, but it has actually. I'm getting to the point where I can't tell sometimes if a frame is plastic or aluminum. because some of those plastic frames are actually pretty good. But it's definitely a solid phone for the money. NUU gives you a lot, including a charger, and a cable and a case in the box. For $189, it's hard to do much better than that. Just understand that you're not going to have a great camera, not the best battery life, and you don't know when you're going to get software updates, because so far, I mean, the fact that it's in August of 2023 for Google's security updates does not bode well for it. So that's where I stand with it.
News. Yeah. No, that's legit. All right. Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to take a look at that. I also appreciate you taking the reins for this particular review, because you can hear my voice is about to go take a nap. But yeah, so I think overall that's going to do it for this particular review from the podcast. Please consider subscribing to this channel. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell so you can be notified of all new episodes and reviews as they drop. And we love that kind of feedback. Hit the comments down below. Do you have one of these phones? Are you thinking about picking one up? Do you have a counterpoint to you? Do you have another, maybe something?
I love the display, and it's plenty bright enough for me.
Right, exactly. Let us know down in the comments, because we read every single comment that comes through, and we try to reply to most, if not all of them. And if you want some early access, jump on the Patreon, patreon.com/benefit of the doubt. I'd like to thank co-producer Cliff for all of his hard work behind the scenes and for walking us through the NUU A25. And but most of all, and as always, I'd like to thank you for listening and for giving us the benefit of the doubt. I was just holding on to that. So
I hate you.
So you could go, yeah, I know, but you hate me with love. So peace out, everybody. Benefit of a doubt. Love you.